In today's episode of How to Start Up, I'm joined by Marie du Petit Thouars and Matt Berkson, the founders and partners behind Maison Louis Marie, the clean luxury fragrance house that blends centuries-old botanical heritage with modern consciousness. We discuss how they've turned a personal passion project into a global brand while learning to start, scale, and stayed married along the way. Marie started her brand and then brought on her husband Matt as CEO. So we really delve into the guts of what it's like to start a business with your life partner. They share some very funny anecdotes as to what happened with their startup and what happened within their relationship as they grew the business into this amazing success. They also share fantastic advice for any couple or friendship partnership who are thinking of starting a business together. So keep listening to hear the founders of Maison Louis Marie talk about how to start up and stay married. It's really delightful to meet you both. I know we're going to talk about everything starting up and staying married because you're both life partners and business partners. But before we do that, I'd love it if you could just introduce when you started your beautiful fragrance house.
I started Maison Louis Marie in 2013. I was making candles for Christmas for gifts for my friends. And I was always drawn to like beautiful luxury candles, but they're very pricey. So you end up not wanting to burn them because you don't want to like keep them longer. So I decided to like try to make candles who were really like, beautifully made, good quality, but half the price. And because of my friend kept asking me more and more candles, I was like, why don't I just create a brand? And I dig deep in my DNA and my family history. And it was quite natural and very easy actually to create the brand because it's basically in some ways in my blood. So it was just like a continuation of who I am with a lot of background history too. And I guess also what was easy is when I created the 6 first fragrances, they were all based on memories. Like Scalpe, the number 1 was an island in Scotland that my cousin owned. And we went there on a vacation and we learned to make our own butter. It was so cool.
So did you start the business together from day one, or did Matthew come into the business at some point?
No, I started by myself.
But whilst married to Matthew, or hadn't met Matthew?
Not yet. We were together. And that's very important, actually. It's a good question because we moved in together and Matt had his own company. And he really inspired me because he would get up every morning, even if he was sick. He was out the door by 7 and back at 6. And I was like, wow, that's a really amazing work ethic. Like, it's very inspiring. Like, at the time, I was doing art and photography, and I was like more on an artist schedule. And I was like, maybe that's not the way to do it. So when I started by myself, Matt really inspired me. And then I always told him, like, why don't you come and work with me? Why don't you? And he was like, no way, we can't work together. And like, you'd have to like really sell a lot of candles for me to come in. She was like, and then I was like, how many? And then he's like, well, you need to at least sell 10,000 candles a month. I was like, God, that's going to take me a while. Anyways, 3 years later, or 2 years later, I got pregnant and I was still begging him. And he was like, okay, I'll come. I was pretty much at 10,000 candles a month. And that's when he came. He joined in 2016 and we started working together. But I was very honest since the beginning. I didn't want to have battle of like, I created it, I'm the boss. I said to him, you can be the boss. I just want to be the creative person, like, because I think
ask how you divided and conquered. How did you know what job you wanted to do and versus what job your new recruit was going to do? And obviously, I'm going to ask Matt these questions as well from his perspective. But Marie, you go first.
Matt was always like, he studied business. I studied art. So I always knew that Matt would be amazing for the business. And I can just create what I want, and then he just has to find a way to sell it.
This is, by the way, very Chanel of you. This is what Chanel did with the Wertheimers. She was like, I just want to create. You can do the numbers. Just let me be creative.
Yeah, and I always think that in a couple, maybe I'm like old style, but I feel that a man, it's important for him to be the boss, like in some ways. And I really don't care.
Matt, would you agree with that?
I mean, not necessarily, but I mean, in the situation that we're in, it's not like I'm the total boss. We collaborate on everything, even from, even business decisions to creative decisions, but definitely on the creative side, I defer to her. Like, it does make sense to, fill the CEO role and be able to kind of make decisions. Obviously, we're talking to each other all the time and, everything is kind of run by both of us.
On that, it must have been, I mean, were you at all apprehensive coming from a loving home personal partnership into a business professional partnership?
In a way, it seemed pretty natural to work with Marie. And I mean, she's characterizing it like, I didn't want to join. We weren't married at the time, but, we were kind of on our way to getting married. And then with the kid, it was more of just like a putting all your eggs in one basket situation of just like, it's a huge risk to go all in on your own company. So I just wanted to make sure that, if we did join forces, that it would work.
Well, it's a huge risk bringing a CEO in. It's such a senior hire. It's probably the most senior hire a brand can do. But then it must be a blessing and a curse because you obviously know each other inside out, through and through. You've gone through lots of challenges before. There must be benefits to that, but also cons. Matt, I wondered if you could give us the pro and the con of working with your life partner. I mean, did you have to do an interview?
No, not at all. Because, I was around watching Marie in the very beginning. So, of course, I was so familiar with what she was building and
Yeah.
kind of in awe of how, well she did at the beginning. I mean, she had an art studio in Echo Park in kind of the east side of Los Angeles and just built that into her office and built the website on her own, figured out how to set up a Shopify account. The brand was too small for a FedEx pickup. So she was lugging packages to FedEx, picking and packing orders. So I was seeing it firsthand and I was just amazed at how she kind of built it from the beginning. And so like, she created such a perfect like foundation right at the beginning, like it made my job easy in some ways.
Marie, do you think if you weren't about to go on maternity leave, you would have still recruited Matthew?
Oh yeah, I knew exactly like this is a person like any company would be very happy to have him. So I was like, yeah, totally. And it was a good excuse actually that I was pregnant, that I needed help because like that he had to come. And when you were saying like the pros and cons, like I mean, we're so different. It's like the yin and the yang. Like we have totally different strengths. So the combination is perfect because he's really good for business, but also he has a good eye. And then we just like ask questions and like, you like this, you want to do that. And then we just talk it together and we have a lot of respect for each other. So we never fight.
Really? Because I was going to
No.
say, I mean, I don't have a business partner and I'm grateful for it in some ways, but also I look at people who do and I'm very envious because the amount of support at that senior level would be incredible. But I also know that if it didn't work and there were glitches, it'd be a very different exit or difficult conversation to have.
I think you have to be able to separate little boxes in your brain and the home. And if you can do that, it works really well.
Do you compartmentalize? So you get home and you like, right, we cannot talk about the brand.
No, we do. Like he always comes back, new samples and things like that. And I'm like, oh my God, can I do this later? But I laugh about it. Like it never stops. That's the con.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that
that's any business, isn't it?
you just have to think about it all the time. You just always have to like have respect. And in life, you treat people with respect. And if you don't like something, you say it in a nice way and then you work like to make it good. But we've always had the same taste, even in furniture or like vacation. So it's very easy to make it grow and work together because we're kind of on the same page. And yeah, the con is really just like you have to bring it home.
But then a problem shared is a problem halved, and I bring it home and I got no one to tell. I'm just like, oh, I'll just carry on problem solving on my own. So that's why I go to co-working offices because I think I've got that community support there and I can have a problem shared, problem halved through comrades. As someone said right at the beginning of my business 6 years ago, so as long as you're fine with like dreaming about clients, thinking about them in the shower when you're going to run, you're going to be fine. You're never going to switch off. And I'd always had a good work ethic and I, always tried and worked really hard for these amazing brands that I had some fantastic training from, but I did switch off and you could potentially also 20 years ago, leave it in the office. Whereas today we are also connected. For you guys, is there any practical advice you'd give other couples thinking of going into business together as to how to draw that boundary and how to kind of protect both relationships?
I mean, you have to be somewhat adept at kind of sensing the room in a way. I mean, like there's certain times in the evening, obviously, like I'm constantly thinking about the brand, but like, you just have to understand when to kind of leave it alone or leave it for the next day or talk about it later. So, I mean, you just have to be very respectful and sense kind of like the appropriate times to kind of deal with certain things, which I've always tried to do. But, sometimes, yeah, like, because Marie works not in our office. So it's like we're talking a lot throughout the day about the company. But then obviously when we see each other in the evenings, there's, it's hard because like we're both tired, yet, I'll have to bring home samples or there'll be creative decisions to be made. And, certain times it's just like, we'll just leave it for the next day. Other times, it'll make sense to kind of deal with it in the evening.
Oh, that's interesting. So you've put a physical boundary in place that you're not in a shared office space.
And I think that really helped me a lot, actually, because when we started, we were in the same room. And that was kind of like a little hard. I'm someone who really liked my own time and to be alone. And then in the second office, I had my own office. And I thought that was amazing because I had my space. And I think it's very important that you have your own space. But then when the pandemic hit, I stayed home and I never went back to the office after because I realized how much I love it. I think way more clearer, quicker, because I don't have the noise. We always have our office next to the warehouse. So there's the employees, there's everything going on. Now I'm just like at home, it's quiet. So that was a good discovery.
It's good for your creativity.
Yes. And for us too, because it's like, yeah, we work together, but Matt leaves in the morning and comes back at night.
You can miss each other a bit. Like you're not physically in the same space creating.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think it's so difficult, isn't it, when work can be all consuming to know what to do first and when, and how have you divided? I mean, it sounds fairly obvious that if one of you has a business background and one of you's creative, you've divided those. But given that any founder is also IT, HR, payroll, culture, community, social, there's so many other things outside of your actual day job that you have to do. Did you do some work around that in terms of dividing those extra roles? Or was the business at a stage where you had other people doing those things?
In the beginning, like I think Matt, he took over the production and the sales, and I did the accounting, the inventory, and the creativity. And then I think one day I called Matt and I said, Matt, I don't want to do accounting and inventory anymore. Like it's too much. I think it was in 2019.
There's nothing like dampening your creativity by looking at a spreadsheet, I imagine.
Yeah, it was like so hard because I was like doing the inventory and the spreadsheet and I couldn't go from one to the other. And then he said, don't worry, like that's what's cool with Matt. It's like, you don't want to do something, you don't have to. He's like, okay, we'll find you someone, don't worry. And then I was so scared that someone is going to take my job and replace me. But then it was for the best.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. It's hard, isn't it, letting go? Because when you've done everything yourself to then, and proven you can do it yourself, you're well, exhausted. And especially if you're raising a family as well, you've got other things that need you at home. You can't work to midnight every night. How did you learn to let go?
I just had to trust that someone else was going to do a good job as I did. And then you have to learn also to understand that sometimes they can make mistakes, but the mistakes are going to be fixed. And then we met Alessandro. He came in too, and he's amazing because he was working for the accounting company, but he was IT. He was just like fast. Like when you had a question, he knew. He was not like, sometimes people talk for 4 minutes to say 2 things. And we hired him too. And he was a great hire too, right, Matt? So, and then we got someone for the sales.
So as you're growing, you are recruiting.
Little by little, yeah.
Because you're on Sephora and Goop, right? You're not a startup anymore. You're very significantly present in the market.
You know what I think was really helpful is that when the pandemic hit, you had to start working on Zoom. And we were able to find amazing people in any kind of like jobs all over the world and work with them through Zoom. And you meet with them once or twice a week. And it's amazing, right, Matt? It's so efficient.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, a lot of our employees, because I think now we have 20 people on our team. We do run our own warehouse. So a lot of that is in our warehouse. But like Marie said, in the past kind of 3 to 4 years, we've added a CFO, who's Alessandro. Alice is our head of ops, and then Massime, our head of sales. So yeah, we have a very strong team, and some are remote, some are in office. But yeah, it's kind of like Marie. It's like in some ways almost, I think, easier for everyone not to be in the same office in a way. Because especially when you find really good people that you can trust, I mean, you don't need to be in the office with them.
Trust is everything.
Yeah, I just think it's, better for everyone in a way.
It's interesting. There's a big debate around this because we, having had years and years of experience under our belts, know what we're doing and how to work. And my colleague Francesca came to me straight out of university, incredible recruit and amazing person to work with. We do hybrid, so we see each other once or twice a week, but predominantly working remotely. For her personality and the way she works, that really suits her. But I know there's other people that have come and joined the team, but they need people all the time. And I'm at a point in my career, and it's my business, where I'm like, I don't want to be needed by somebody all the time. I just want to get my head down and do it my way. And you could argue that's quite a selfish approach. But then if I'm going to work this hard, I'm going to do it the way I want. And that's the autonomy you get yourself when you start a business. But I think it's the type of work that you do and how you work at work. But Francesca and I debated this last week. She said, I wouldn't have learned anything had I done it all remotely, because you, as a youngster, have to absorb quite a lot of skills by osmosis, by being around people. The Fathom AI founder came on the podcast a couple of months ago, and he said, we just don't recruit anyone under 30 anymore because AI's replaced them. I was like, but what about your pipeline? What's going to happen in 8 years when you're trying to recruit the next 30-year-old to be the senior hire? It's a really interesting one. Have you kind of skewed it to say it's completely up to you if you come in or stay at home, depending on what they prefer? Or have you sort of insisted that obviously the warehouse, you need people in the warehouse?
Yeah, I'm pretty old school. Like, I love going into the office. I mean, occasionally, if I have to work from home, I will, but like, I just work best in an office.
He hates it to work from home.
But you know yourself at work.
Yeah. But I mean, like you said, I think, early on in our careers, I mean, I was working in an office, was an assistant to an executive for years and learned so much. And, that kind of the early days of being in an office, learning the politics, learning how to deal with people was key. So I think you need that experience early on. But then, as you grow in your career and, become more senior, I think it's less important. Although, there needs to be a lot of communication within your company too. So there is a trade-off to not everyone being in the office, but, certain roles, like they just definitely.
And also like Mas, Alice and Alessandro, like they're more like our age. They're like from another generation. So they obviously don't need to be around people, I guess.
Have your sort of junior hires requested more FaceTime with you guys, or are they getting enough that they need to do their roles?
Yeah, I mean, most of our junior hires will be in the office because it just works better.
And we remember someone requested not wanting to come every day. And we told them it's not going to work. You really have to come every day to learn how the ropes, because at 22, 23, you don't know anything. You need
also
to come.
The work they're likely doing is more office-based work. My background's in PR, and I used to run down to reception with all the send-outs to journalists. You physically had to do that. That was my job. And I work with a lot of jewelers as well as fragrance designers, and they have to sit at a bench and make jewelry. They can't do that on a bus or on a beach or wherever working remotely. So it's a really interesting debate. But talking of boundaries, that obviously you've set the boundary with yourselves and you know how you both prefer to work at work. And that's trickled down in the culture as well. Are there any other systems or habits that you've created to help you both in your partnerships?
For some reason, we have a magical relationship where we just like naturally, I don't think are like.
Do you mind me asking how long you were together before you went into business together?
Oh, we were a long time together because I think we dated for 5 years and then we got married in 2015.
Matt's like, yeah.
No, I have the worst.
He has the worst. He always says 6 months for everything. Oh, it was 6 months ago. So we got married in 2006 years, and then he came on the 7th year. So we knew each other for 7 years.
Yeah. So you knew each other pretty well by that stage.
Yeah. And I think I went there this summer. I loved
people listening. If they're thinking about going to partnership, even with a friend or partnerships full stop, what sort of questions should they ask each other before signing a business agreement with each other?
I think they have to really respect each other very much and look at the work ethic. Because to me, what struck me with Matt was the work ethic.
It's everything in a business.
Yeah, it's everything. And also, like, we're a good combo. I'm the bad cop, he's the good cop. Yeah. I always call him Mother Teresa. Like, he's always so nice and like,
Is this why he's in the office and you're at home?
don't know, because they're very impressive, Matt, at the office. So the employees would always ask me first. And I was known to always say yes in some ways too, because I don't want any, like, okay, yes, 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 yes. So,
So if they're going into a partnership together, you think know their trust or how much they trust and look at the work ethic. Is there sort of anything they should do, like, I don't know, for a marathon together or something like a draft version before they actually jump in?
no, I think they need to go with their guts. And there's one little thing who bothers them, they shouldn't go into business with each other.
Matt, would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's hard. Like if you're having to kind of like formalize a business relationship with your partner, I think it's like already going to be a problem. Like you just have so many like unwritten, I don't know, maybe we just take for granted. I mean, you probably do need to sit down and really understand what your goals are because, I could see maybe that being a point of friction and not that it is with us.
Yeah, what does success look like? Because people have very different ideas. I found that with friends, actually. They've put their idea of success onto me. It's like, but surely you must want to employ 20 people and scale. It's like, no, that's not a thing for me. I'm actually really happy being a smaller company now. It's just interesting what other people want to put upon you. You have to kind of question where it's coming from. But if it's your partner or your business partner, having that frank conversation.
I think also you need to have the same way of, like, it's not ethics, but how you live your life.
Your values?
Yeah, exactly. You need to have the same values. Because, for example, Matt, before he joined, he had another company with another partner who was really amazing and so much fun, but they were so different. And I don't think Matt would come sometimes and be like, oh man, and I could see like, yeah, they're not going in the same direction. And I think you really have to like have the same value and go in the same direction.
Well, that's where we got B Corp certified because we knew we liked B Corp's values. And obviously, nothing's perfect, but it was a stamp of approval that anyone coming into the business would understand very quickly where we stood on our values and what we would expect of them as well. And same goes for clients, suppliers, everything. And I'm sure you're not very well versed in this too. So I know that the DNA is really obviously personal with your heritage, but you've got a very strong and environmental consciousness with it as well. Is that something that you look for your employees when you bring people into the business, what their values are?
It's definitely important to have kind of be aligned on the values. And, it's a very easy kind of sell or part of the business, the environmental kind of angle that we have and what we do in that world. Of course, everyone really likes that as part of the business. And yeah, it's always kind of been important to us, I think, because being a brand, in so many ways, you're contributing to the problem. And I mean, especially in beauty, it's been so, what they call greenwashing, just focusing on like recyclability of products. But you're still creating like thousands of products and putting them into this world. When we were super small, that's the best we could do was focus on recyclability. And then once we grew, we were able to kind of join a lot of really cool nonprofit organizations and actually kind of like put our money where our mouth is and help kind of fund what they were doing. I think too, just, being a newer brand, it just feels more natural to us to contribute to the earth and help them.
But also, when you say about the hire, do you want them to be like that? I feel that the younger generation is like that.
Well, yeah, they're looking for brands that they can put their values and effort into.
Yeah,
as well.
it's crazy how like my nieces, they came over, like the recycling, like not wanting to buy things with plastic. Like in some ways, they're even more educated than we are.
Oh God, yeah.
So I think, yeah, it's not that we ask them, they kind of already like that, so they are very careful.
Yeah, it is incredible. And I love it, the next generation who I learned so much from and when they challenge me back. And I wouldn't have dreamed to have done that when I was 23, 25 or something like that, saying to my boss, like, I disagree. And I think it's phenomenal because it's just adding more value to us, our clients, our output, everything. And so for the brand, obviously you've achieved so much already, but what is exciting for you going forward with the brand?
I think one of the most exciting parts or, fun parts for us is as we've grown through kind of the middle period, I think it was definitely harder for us because we were like really just kind of fighting it out with other brands. We kind of entered a lot of different like, bigger retailer landscapes, and the competition, it's really intense in beauty, especially fragrance, especially coming out of COVID. And I think in the last few years, we've really kind of like found our way more. And we opened up our first store last year. I think we're going to plan on opening up our second store this year. I think
Huge.
we've just kind of had a renewed kind of like feeling that we can kind of like fulfill our own destiny. When I think before, we felt much more reliant upon kind of like distributors and retail partners. And we're just realizing that like, through our own channels, our DTC business and even Amazon and opening up our own stores, we're really starting to create our own ecosystem, which is just super exciting and fun.
And it's just something also that you can control, and not in a negative way, but it's your ethos, it's your values, it's, you can use the materials that you want. And I completely appreciate this because one of our PR clients is Matière Première. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys. They just had a minority keyring investment in 2024. They opened Saint-Tropez Paris, and we're opening their London store next month. And to see this brand, you can feel it, you can smell it, you can touch it, and it will be top to toe them. Whereas you go into Selfridges and Liberty and Harvey Nicks and it's beautiful. And I had this at Chanel as well, but it's a disconnect and the customer won't get all of the rich, raw, quite literal raw materials that you can get when you design your own store. So that's huge. Congratulations. And something that we do with every episode is we have a question from our previous guest for our next guest. And this beautiful interior designer, Sophie Patterson in London, had a question for you guys about when do you know it's right to bring on a senior hire? Which is quite interesting from what you said. We've got some brilliant heads of within the team, and the fact that Marie recruited Matt to be the CEO. When now in your business do you know it's right to bring on that next senior hire? Because they're expensive and it can go wrong. It's not plain sailing recruitment. In fact, I think it's the hardest part.
I think it's when we feel the company is ready and we need it. And we can't keep doing it anymore. Like all the times that we hired a senior high, Matt was not drowning, but it was like too much work. And then we were very lucky because all the people we hired, we knew them working with them for other companies. Like they were working for companies we were working with. And then when they left, we snapped them because we really liked them. So we had already worked with them.
And there's nothing like it, is there? You
Exactly.
Just know.
We're very lucky for that. Very hard.
It's not luck. You worked really hard. You did the hours, you had the experience, and then you had the foresight to think, right. I'd say it was very strategic. I always challenge people when they say luck, because it actually, when you look at it, it's hard work. There's no luck about starting and growing a business.
But I think like when you work with other companies, it's interesting because you work with 20 people, but you always see that person you really like and you would want to have with you. And that's when you know it's the right person.
Oh, I've got goosebumps because between my jobs in New York, Sydney, and London, there's people I'm still in touch with. And I just know at some point. Matt, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Marie's totally right about that. Sometimes it's like the universe kind of like will kind of slowly put someone in your orbit and like the timing is perfect. And I think as a small company, we're just so used to kind of taking on a lot, and then our team as well. It's not like we're forced to have to hire anyone. And it's more about finding the right person than having someone fill some role that like I have a vision for. Like it'll all make sense in my head once that person kind of like appears.
And when they work out, it feels like such a luxury. You're like, how did we ever cope without them?
Yes, it's a luxury to have them.
Yeah. Have the right person in the right job at the right time. My God.
Yeah, it's not just an employee. It's someone very precious. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. And what would your question be for the next guest? It could be anything around entrepreneurship.
I was thinking of something, I wrote it down. It was, what is something you deliberately chose not to do as you've grown your business?
Love this.
I think that's like a very interesting question, because especially as like a creative brand or just a brand in general, it's just like knowing when to say no and really sticking to your guns and stuff like that. So I just find that to be an interesting kind of thing we all deal with.
Someone said to me, do one thing and do it really well, and don't try and walk into a room and tell a client you can solve 20 problems for them. And it's really hard because when you get a taste for entrepreneurship or starting a business or being proactive and creative, you're hungry for it. You enjoy it. I've done that. And what else could I do? And I've got another podcast I really want to do. And I was like, no, I'm going to allow myself 6 months. And if I still it's like going back to a shop to buy something. If I still want to do it in 6 months, I'm allowed to do it because it's more time, right? But yeah, the decisions not to do, they're probably more powerful, aren't they? Can I ask you, Marie, is there a deliberate decision that you've made to not do something? Well, presumably not go back to the office after COVID.
I think all the time, there's a lot of things I don't want to do.
I love you, Marie. It's like, no.
Yeah, it's more no than we.
And it's as you're growing, you kind of like try to have to say yes to a lot of things, but then you kind of realize that it's really important to say no to protect yourself and your brand sometimes.
I get so cross with my diary. I get to my week and I'm like, who the hell booked all this in? Oh, me 2 weeks ago. And I get cross with my previous self. And so I try and protect my future self by saying no to things. And it's more, I've moved to a new place, I'm making new friends. And my weekends, I'm going on walks with people and I'm finding who my new community are. But it takes a lot of time and effort. And sometimes like, no, just say no. You don't need to do it.
You'll feel way better.
Right, I'm going to message you. And I'm English though, Marie. It's really hard to say no to people. We're normally like, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm really sorry, but sorry. Yes.
It's practice. You can do it.
Okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to let you know when I master this. Although I have to say my year in Australia, I got quite good. I think it's a different communication tactic. You're a bit more frank and blunt. And I love that. So you can just say what you think. And especially working in the States.
You lived in Australia for 1 year?
Yeah, no, 6 years. I was in New York for 1 year and then Australia for 6 years.
In where? In Sydney?
Yeah, Sydney.
I went there this summer. I loved it.
Yeah. It's a gorgeous quality of life.
People were very nice.
Yeah.
They
have so much sunshine. They're high as kites on the sunshine. And they're healthy living.
Yes.
You come to England, I know you get the tube to work, you're underground.
I was there in September, darkness.
Although I would argue in the summer, England's amazing because you get such long days.
But you know what I love? I'm a runner and I run in the parks. You have beautiful parks.
Yeah.
Oh my God, gorgeous. That like morning, like fog, Hyde Park, it was gorgeous. Yeah.
Well, next time you come, try and do a run down the Thames because that you get to tick off all the tourist sites without having to go anywhere inside. And it's flat, which is the only benefit.
I'll go faster.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you both. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was super fun. Thank you.